Shalom and welcome to the weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. We're almost to the end of Jeremiah's temple sermon. The Lord has been coming to his conclusion, starting in verse 13, saying, because of all these things which you have done, and now in verse 14, this is what I am going to have to do to you in my loving correction. It's very dramatic. Let's go ahead and read the text in Hebrew as we get started. Va'asiti labayit asher nikra shemi alav asher atem bothechim bo va'lamakom asher natati lachem ולאבותיכם כאשר עשיתי לשילה. Oh boy, here it comes. So we start with the vav attached to a perfect, and this is going to be a perfect consecutive here, and it's actually going to be the conclusion. And I will do. So there's the T supportative. So this is going to be a first common singular. This is a cow from our good old verb, asa. The Lord said in verse 13, if you look back, this is what you have done. Well, this is what I am going to do. You have done your deeds. I, because it's a perfect consecutive, we throw it into the future. So I will do to the house. You see your article underneath the preposition to the house, which nikra shmi alav. Now, we've actually seen the same construction back in verse 10 and in verse 11, which my name is called. This is a nifal, perfect, 3ms, from kara, so with the nun prefix here, and the subject of it is my name, which my name is called over it. So over which, the it referring back to the house over which my name is called, again picking up in those couple previous verses, which you are trusting. So here we have, again, a masculine plural cal participle from the verb batak. And we've seen this. We saw this back in verses 4 and in verses 8. Verse 4 and verse 8, in which you are trusting in it, and the it here referring to the house. Now the one difference is that back in verse 4 and in verse 8, they were trusting in the words saying, this is the temple of the Lord, this is the temple of the Lord, this is the temple of the Lord. Now they are specific, Jeremiah is saying, you're trusting in the house. And obviously you can't separate the two. It was that because of the fact of the houses, the temple's presence, that they were trusting in the words, which were words of deception. They were false words, illusory words of illusion, and we're not going to have any true substance behind them. So this house which you're trusting in, and to the place, this is what he's going to do to the place, there's your article, which I gave, natati. So this is from the verb natan, just a perfect, the first common singular cal. The final nun assimilates into this dagesh, the nun from the verb natan. So that's why we have that dagesh there. And to the place which I gave to you and to your fathers. So this is your plural suffix, 2mp suffix. And remember, avot, Av, which is father, takes its plural in what looks like a feminine, but isn't really here, because we know, obviously, especially with the sereyod, and in the context it's masculine, but it's an irregular plural. And to your fathers, I'm going to do to the place in which you're trusting, this house, just as, and this is the dramatic ending of it, I'm going to do just as I did to Shiloh. And this is what we saw in a couple of the previous verses. Shiloh was spelled a little bit differently. Back in verse 12, it was spelled with another yod right in between here. But it's exactly the same word. I'm going to do what I did to Shiloh. And if you remember that story, you'd have to go back to the first couple chapters of 1 Samuel, in which you will find that the Lord exiled the ark. He allowed the ark to be captured by the Philistines, and Shiloh was basically dismantled and destroyed. Eli died, his sons were killed in the battle, so it was a rather devastating time. And the Lord says, don't be presumptuous just because you have the temple here. I expect my people to walk in holiness and humility and submission before me, and you can't do what you're doing and get away with it without my correction. Well, let's go ahead and hide our work here, look at a couple translations to see what they've done with them. First of all, in the ESV, therefore I will do to the house that is called by my name, which my name is called over it, that is called by my name, and in which you trust, in the house in which you trust, and to the place that I gave to you and to your fathers, I will do as I did to Shiloh. So it's a very direct, straightforward translation. Christian Standard Bible, a little bit different. What I did to Shiloh, so they've picked up this ending over here, put it up, they front-loaded it to the very beginning of the verse. What I did to Shiloh, I will do to the house that bears my name, that is called by my name, the house in which you trust, the place that I gave to you and your ancestors. So it's an accurate translation. The only weakness that I would find with this is that the Hebrew text seems to be dramatic. I'm going to do in which you're trusting, all the rest, just as I did to Shiloh. And putting it at the end really makes a dramatic force. Front-loading here seems to weaken that, but that may just be my perception of it. You may not have a problem with that, but I think it sort of weakens it. I'd rather have this dramatic ending to the verse here, because I think it underlines it a little stronger. And then the Message, Eugene Peterson's paraphrase, I thought really gets it pretty well here. I'm going to do to this temple, it's this house, this temple, set aside for my worship, which over which my name is called, this place you think is going to keep you safe no matter what, in which you are trusting in it. So he's unpacking the idea of what their trust is all about, and he's picking up the idea of their trusting in the words, because the temple's here, we can't experience any calamity. So this place you think is going to keep you safe no matter what, this place I gave as a gift, I like that development too. It's paraphrased, but it's a good one. To your ancestors and you, I'm going to do the same as I did to Shiloh. So he keeps sort of that dramatic ending at the end, and I did appreciate that. So a good paraphrase there. The presumption of the people is going to be corrected here, and he has one more verse to give us in terms of the conclusion that's coming, a very dramatic and traumatic conclusion coming upon the people as God's judgment falls as well. So we'll check back with us soon as we continue working through this passage in the weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Hebrew. Shalom.